Today is Monday, July 7th. We'll tell you about devastating flooding in central Texas, the rescue and recovery efforts still underway, and why some survivors are now demanding answers from public officials. Also, President Trump's top priority so far has been accomplished, what you need to know about the new law, and when Americans will start to feel the impacts. Plus, Elon Musk's new political party, a new plan for TikTok's future that's apparently already in motion, and the Dalai Lama's prediction for his own future as he celebrates his 90th birthday. Those stories and even more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. A frantic search and rescue operation is still underway in central Texas in the face of catastrophic flooding. Unfortunately, more rain is still in the forecast. Already, at least 82 people have been confirmed dead, including dozens of children. Many of them were attending a popular girls' summer camp called Camp Mystic. As of this morning, 10 campers are still missing, as well as a counselor. Others were able to be airlifted to safety. The Texas Air National Guard is using military drones now to search the area, and the U.S. Coast Guard has aircraft with thermal cameras to identify any movement from the air. The speed and severity of the flooding caught a lot of people off guard. The storm dropped as much as 18 inches of rain in some spots over just a 3-hour period. So when it comes to blame, some people say the nature of the storm was the real problem. But there are also critics who say more people could have been moved to higher ground if they had gotten enough warning. The National Weather Service says it gave hours of notice about potential flash floods. But the most dire warnings did not go out until early Friday morning, when most people were sleeping. Because of layoffs and early retirement incentives earlier this year, there are critical vacancies at the National Weather Service's forecast offices. So some people are questioning whether that could have impacted how many warnings went out, something the National Weather Service says is not true. Others believe people in the area got the alerts just as they were supposed to, but that many of them have so-called warning fatigue since they're overwhelmed with alerts all the time and no longer take them seriously. And then there are those who say the alerts just did not reach the right people. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the National Weather Service used an ancient system for alerts and that the White House is now working to upgrade the technology. There's also blame going around on the local level. So local officials say they're going to be doing a full review of the disaster to figure out what went wrong and be better prepared for the future. But of course, for right now, the top priority is finding anyone who may still need to be rescued. And if you want to help the relief efforts, we've posted a list of reputable organizations accepting donations in today's episode notes. On the East Coast, Tropical Storm Shantel made landfall in South Carolina yesterday. As it moved inland, it weakened, becoming a tropical depression. But it still brought heavy rain and some significant flooding to parts of the Carolinas. Homes and roads were flooded, and emergency responders had to rescue several people trapped in their cars. Thankfully, no one has been reported hurt. But the rain is expected to continue today through parts of North Carolina and Virginia. And then the remnants of the system could move up the mid-Atlantic into the Northeast by the end of the week. On the 4th of July, President Trump signed his $3.4 trillion policy bill into law. It includes tax breaks for wealthy Americans, seniors, and businesses, as well as new tax deductions on tips, overtime, and auto loans. The new law also spends more money on a border wall, migrant detention facilities, and new immigration and customs enforcement officers. Plus, the Defense Department is getting a boost for President Trump's planned Golden Dome missile defense system and more. But to offset the costs, there are also a lot of cuts, mainly to initiatives like clean energy and social safety net programs like Medicaid and food assistance. For example, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office expects nearly 12 million Americans will lose health coverage over the next decade. And then there are some extra Republican priorities that made it in. For example, there's a new children's savings program called Trump Accounts with a potential $1,000 deposit from the Treasury for newborns. The bill also funds a new National Garden of American Heroes. It gets rid of some taxes on guns, and billions will go to the Artemis moon mission and the exploration of Mars. The new law increases the nation's debt limit by $5 trillion, letting the country keep borrowing to pay for what the government has already spent. President Trump called the bill passing the biggest victory yet, and other Republicans say this is just one piece of a plan to boost the economy with more bills coming soon. Democrats argue the new law will hurt everyday Americans just to benefit the rich and will cost Republicans their majority in the midterms. But the actual impacts of the new law might not be felt before then. The start dates for a lot of the provisions don't kick in until after the November 2026 elections. Still expect this to be talked about quite a bit until then and after. The White House is hosting another highly anticipated meeting today. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington, D.C. to meet with President Trump. It's actually his third White House visit since Trump returned to office in January. But this time it comes on the heels of the U.S. and Israel's coordinated strikes on Iran meant to damage its nuclear program. It also comes as Israel has reportedly agreed to a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza that Hamas is apparently still considering. And it comes days before President Trump's new tariffs on Israel are set to kick in. All of that is expected to come up today, though there could also be some surprises, so stay tuned. Once again, the group of oil-producing nations across the world and their allies, together known as OPEC+, decided to pump more oil. They agreed to an even larger increase this time than in recent months. It was higher than some analysts expected and could lead to more supply than demand. Already, oil prices have gone down. It's seen as a win for President Trump, who has been calling for lower costs. But it could cause some pain for oil producers, and pretty soon it might not be profitable to drill new wells. Either way, this trend is likely to continue, since countries that make up OPEC+ say even more production increases are coming. More news still ahead, but first I want to take a moment to talk about our sponsor. Whatever you think of AI in general, there are certain ways that it can be a huge time saver. And when you're starting a business, you need all the time you can get. Thanks to Wix.com, you can answer just a few questions and get a beautiful business-ready website in minutes. I'm talking generating unique visuals to an AI agent setting up a marketing campaign for you. Wix puts incredible website creation at your fingertips. Whether you choose the AI site builder or prefer to start from a designer-made template that is fully customizable, Wix allows you to create a website in a way that is easy and fun. When I first started a business, I realized that wanting to spend every minute creating your website was just procrastination from doing what you really should be focused on. Yes, having a website is super important. You need one. But Wix lets you do it in a way that won't waste your time and energy, and it'll still have everything you need in a beautiful design. Ready to create your own website? Go to Wix.com. That's Wix.com to start building your website today. Thanks to Wix for sponsoring our show. Now, back to the news. Over the weekend, thousands of people traveled to India's Himalayan foothills to celebrate the Dalai Lama's birthday. The Tibetan spiritual leader, who is revered as an advocate for peace, turned 90 years old. Indian government ministers spoke at the event, as well as Hollywood actor Richard Gere. The crowds also heard from the Dalai Lama himself, who spoke about having compassion for others. This week, he confirmed plans for a successor to be named by other Tibetan leaders in exile, meaning the 600-year-old institution won't end with him. But the Dalai Lama told followers over the weekend they don't have to worry about it for a while, since he expects to live for another 40 years to be 130. The richest man in the world announced a new political party. Elon Musk is calling it America's Party. Musk says he wants to give Americans another option because, quote, when it comes to bankrupting our country with waste and graft, we live in a one-party system, not a democracy. He's especially upset about President Trump signing his big policy bill over the weekend, that we talked about earlier in the show, since it is expected to add trillions of dollars to the deficit. But Trump has called Musk's idea ridiculous and says adding a third party to the two-party system just adds confusion. Of course, forming new political parties is not anything new. It's just that the new ones typically struggle to pull any significant support away from Republicans or Democrats. This one could be different, though, since Musk is willing to spend significant amounts of money. And Musk says he's getting to work right away so that America's Party will be involved in the 2026 midterms. President Trump says he's going to start talking to China this week about a possible deal to save TikTok in the U.S. But already a deal is said to be in the works. And the information cites sources who say TikTok is busy building a separate version of its app specifically for users in the U.S. The goal is apparently to launch the new app on American app stores in September, before the new deadline for TikTok's parent company to divest or be banned. And eventually, the old app won't work here in the U.S. So far, no official comment from TikTok or the Trump administration. More than 40 years after the original Jurassic Park came out, the franchise is still proving to be a boost for the box office. The latest installment of the Jurassic World series brought in $147 million over the 4th of July weekend in the U.S. and Canada alone. Jurassic World Rebirth is just the latest big win for Hollywood. Overall, the box office is now up more than 14% from this time last year, and the summer season specifically is doing even better, with even more blockbusters coming out soon. For example, this weekend is the opening of the latest Superman movie, and later this month there's a new Fantastic Four coming out, just to name a couple of highlights. What would 4th of July weekend be without Joey Chestnut? The hot dog eating champion made his return to the Coney Island Boardwalk this year, and as expected, he triumphed over the competition for the 17th time. Chestnut ate 70 and a half hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. That was 24 more than the next closer competitor. This was his big return since last year, the Major League Eating Organization banned Chestnut over his deal with plant-based food company Impossible Foods. But everyone agreed he could return this year. He didn't beat his all-time record of 76 hot dogs and buns. That said, Chestnut is already talking about next year when he's planning to eat even more. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Quince. With summer in full swing, I feel that familiar urge to refresh my closet. But I'm trying not to waste money on pieces I'll only wear once or just for one season. That's where Quince comes in. Their clothes are timeless, feel luxurious, look elevated, and the quality is way beyond what you'd expect for the price. Think 100% European linen tops starting at $30. These are perfect for my upcoming summer trip. It's going to be hot where I'm going, so I found the perfect linen tank that is travel-friendly, cute and high quality, and versatile, so I can pack light. And of course, I can continue wearing it even after I come back home. I'm already loving my carry-on suitcase from Quince as well. It is stylish and functional. And the best part is that everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you luxury without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. So give your summer closet an upgrade with Quince. Go to quince.com/newsworthy for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/newsworthy to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/newsworthy. Now back to Money Monday. So it turns out Gen Z is pretty good at saving for retirement. Specifically, a recent Vanguard study found 18 to 24-year-olds are contributing to their 401ks and IRAs earlier and at higher rates than previous generations. Other research has found that Gen Z households have 3 times more retirement savings than Gen Xers had at the same age. So what's behind this trend? Financial experts say some of it has to do with policy changes. A law took effect in late 2022 that says eligible employees need to be automatically enrolled in new retirement plans with the ability to opt out. Young people have also benefited from budgeting apps, personal finance podcasts, and so-called finfluencers who help them understand the basics of saving and investing. Plus, some financial planners say Gen Z is just more open to talking about their finances with their peers and have lived through a lot of financial uncertainty already. No matter the reason, it seems even though young people have just barely entered the workforce, they already have a leg up on retirement. Thank you so much for joining us today and for your support of the show. We'll be back with even more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.